Alright, so in this tutorial, I will show you all how to make like a 90-degree angle bend pipe like this, and that can be used to make the connection point for the tire. So in last tutorial, we made a tire. Mine might look a little different from yours, but it should look they should somewhat share the same principle. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to make this 90-degree angle bend pipe so that it can be used as a type of axle type thing, like this for our robot model. Something like that as a sort of a connection point. So I'll show you all how to make this piece, okay? So let's get into it. So before we do anything, let's get to the front view. And I apologize if you hear some noise in the background. That is my cat meowing. So anyway, let's get down to it. So I have my tire, my ClapTrap model here, and I'm going to turn back on my reference and go to the left view, and let's turn that off for a second. And let's move that out of the way. Oops, sorry. Excuse me. Let's move this out of the way. Perfect. And that can be out of the way as well. Let's move it into blocking two. There you go. Right, so we're modeling this piece right here. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to make a cylinder and scale it down like so, and move it down like so, and hit F to kind of reframe your cylinder. And scale it until, and you can move it over, kind of check the width, but once you're done checking the width, move it back to 0, okay? Set it back to 0 there. Now we can scale it up to the length of the cylinder here, something like that. And it looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go to the front view and move it out like so. Okay. And then I'm going to hit Control D on my keyboard to make a duplicate of the cylinder, and then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. You can type it in there on the Z axis, 90 degrees, and you can move it down and kind of inward like so. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the perspective view, hit the 5 key to turn shaded mode back on, hide my reference layer, and bring back my blocking layer. Why am I doing this? Just so that I'm making sure that all my cylinders are going to align in the right location. So I'm just moving that up, make sure it's in the center, somewhat in the center of that hole. And then if this is here, then this needs to move up some more, like something like that maybe. And I might move this out a little bit so that the bend has some room here. And I'm going to move this inward just a little more. Check the length of this. It's a little too long, so you can scale this down. Something like that will probably work pretty good. And I'm moving this up just a bit more. Like that. Okay? So now, with your 2 cylinders in place, select both of them and go to Mesh, Combine. Okay, so Mesh, Combine right here. And that will combine both of your cylinders into one cylinder, or into one object, sorry. And now what you can do is go to Face Mode and select the faces here, and make sure that you have, for this selection, have camera base selection on, so you're not accidentally selecting faces behind, just these faces. Then hold down Shift and select those faces as well. Okay, so with both of those surfaces selected, do the bridge command, which is up here. Click on bridge, and you'll see that they are connected. And in the bridge command option, there's a couple of settings we need to change. So at the bottom here, where it says curve type linear, you can click on it and select blend. Okay, and Then in the division, you can click on the word divisions itself. You'll see it turn yellow and kind of drag it out a little bit, and you'll see a couple of section gets made and the curve gets softer. I think for this instance, 6 looks pretty good for me, so I'll stick with 6, and that looks pretty good. And for this like green thing going on here, that is just a bug in Maya, so you can fix that by clicking on your object. Make sure you're in object mode first. Click on your object, right click and hold, and go all the way down to where it says assign existing material. It's the very bottom one, and go over to standard surface 1. Select that, and you'll see that it fixed that green issue that you saw. So now the next issue we have is kind of like these hard edges here that looks weird where it connects to our smooth pipes. So to fix that, select your object, shift right mouse button down, and soften. You go to where it says soften harden edges right here, and then drag it out, and you'll see a second menu pop up, and just do soften / harden edge, or soften / harden, and that will fix that. If you're having difficulty kind of doing this, the same thing can be accessed. Well, let me just undo that. Right, so if you don't want to do that, you can select your pipe, and the same menu can be accessed up here where it says mesh display. Click on that, and here is the same operation, soften / harden edges. So click on that, and that will fix that issue for you. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I think this is actually a little long, so a little tall. So I'm going to go to select all my faces and move it down like so. Yeah, that's pretty good. Then I'm going to do a extrude and type in an offset value of 0.3. Yeah, that was pretty good. And then do another extrude here. Move it up like so. That's pretty good. Something like that. Okay. And then go to object mode. Click this, and I'm going to duplicate it. So hit Control D to duplicate, and move this up, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degree again on the Z axis. Oops, sorry, negative 90, like so. Move it up, and I'm actually going to hit Shift I to isolate this, and I'm going to grab all these faces at the bottom and move it all the way up. So they're super short. We can edit this later and get out of isolate mode by hit Shift I again, but make sure your object's not selected. So unselect your object, then hit Shift I, that'll unisolate it, and kind of move this down. Something like that. Spacing is a little bit tight right now, but we can edit that. We can move this up and down. We can move the tire down, move the whole thing down. So, oops, sorry. Move this down. So then we can move this down just a little bit. All right, because this is offset, so move this down. Yeah, okay. Now we have sort of our connection point for our tire. The last thing we need to do is select this piece here that we just made. Go to the front view, hit 4 on the keyboard, and go to vertex mode. Make sure you turn off camera-based selection. Grab all the verts that's at the end point here. Hit W on your keyboard, then hold down the X key, and you'll see how it turns into a circle. And just grab this handle and move it over to the right, and you'll see that it snapped to the grid, to the middle line here, and that's what we want. Okay, so go back to perspective view, and you'll see that you now have a little connection point here. And in this case, I duplicated this piece up and just rotated 90 degree, negative 90, and then play with the height here to make it work for this second piece at the top, but you can totally just follow the steps that I've shown so far to do this bottom piece and just make a new piece up here that kind of work for your model. So you won't have to mess with moving the tire up and down, but that's entirely up to you. Okay? Alrighty, thank you and for watching, and in the next tutorial, I will go over how to model the eye and a couple of all the miscellaneous pieces like the door here and the piece up here. And then we'll have a separate tutorial for just the arms of the robot. Okay, thank you.